Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to my dark dungeon. Let me check everything here. Ooh. Ooh, that's kind of cool. All right. Test, test, test. Okay, we're good. I kind of want to go off cam. So I'm socially awkward. No, I'm joking. I like to sit, close my eyes, meditate. It's random. I kind of switch it back and forth. All that matters, all that matters is the quality of the reading. So this one, so you're very, very lucky. I anonymously actually used your chart randomly in a lesson. So um yeah. So I've actually looked at it before, which is very rare. Um I could probably do this without even looking at the chart, but I will still look at it. All right. So, all right, this chart. Well, I didn't fully analyze it, but you know, I looked at it for a little bit. So basically, past life karma, there's a tendency for you to be a little bit, let's call it playing it safe, right? Um, Playing it safe, either playing it safe. Think of like Taurus energy, right? Um, Sometimes it can be a bit stubborn. It's very good at enjoying life, right? Very good at enjoying life, but it's not always the most risk taking. And it's not that life is all about taking risks. There's a balance. And the risks I'm talking about are the risks that push you towards evolution. And a lot of times it's only through crises, which is shown by Pluto and Scorpio. Your North Node is in Scorpio. Your North Node represents the energy that you're trying to go towards in this lifetime. You Scorpio. South Node's the one you're trying to move away from, Taurus. Um, but it's also the one that you're a master in, or that you've kind of had, you mastered, and you're it's almost like you've passed that level already of the video game. So, you know, having Pluto and the North Node together is very significant in my eyes, because both of them are very, very linked to destiny, and very, very linked to what one's purpose is. North Node, as I just mentioned, it's the metaphoric tree that you have yet to climb in past life. And then Pluto is more about the Pluto with the North Node, just making reference to the point that in order for you, like, it's already, Pluto is linked to the sign Scorpio. So it's just like adds more of a scorpionic influence. So it's very, very clear through that explanation, through looking at looking at, excuse me. I need to get that one out. I had a food coma earlier. But through looking at the opposite, Taurus, we can see very clearly that what I said was very true. Now, also with Mercury and Saturn squaring the nodes, you the reason that you have this tendency to be that way, right? Because like I was saying, like Taurus can also be the one, playing it too safe, right? Not willing to take the risk, playing it too safe, but also it can be too much connection to the material world, right? So whenever I see this, it's massive. whenever I see this squares to the nodes, which represents skipped karmic step. Whenever I see the blah blah blah, the Mercury and then also Saturn, those two together both squaring the nodes, it's a lot about past life conditioning and how in whether it's one or multiple past lives that we're dealing with here, that they're young. I'm not even tired. Just had a food coma. But yeah, so whether it's one or more than one past lives we're dealing with here, there is some inherited self-limiting beliefs that will come up in this life from, and also the Saturn square is definitely referring to like the best example I could give in this world would be someone who lives in a very conditioned, very who's like very much like mainstream media is all that matters and blah blah blah, science, astrology's fake, Biden is awesome, like everything we hear on the news is real, like just as an example, right? And then like because of that chose a career path that didn't really leave a lot, like because your career and dharma, right? Like I'm not taking a political stance, by the way. I'm just giving the first example what came to my head, even believing anything, right? Like just basically closed-mindedness and believing what you're told by society. In the old days, it could have been the church, right? Like when the church started becoming more corrupt. It could have been a lot, but and it could have also been someone who was very, very powerful, right? Taurus can be power. Saturn can be someone who may have used, I didn't even think about this yesterday, but Saturn, or 2 days ago, Saturn can be like kind of power tripping yesterday. 2 days ago. So, but yeah, the Mercury one is definitely when someone has that, they 1000% need to go within or take a piece of paper out over time and really, really look at their thoughts, their core beliefs about what is possible for them in this world. And it's all about reprogramming the mind. And a lot of times it shows up as like being like overly rigid with one's thinking. So it's like, yeah, it's the mental life, right? Or just like having a type of thinking that lacks discrimination. And yeah, just being like overly self-critical. And and also it could be like internalized guilt, like a cognitive tendency, that can lead to something like that, right? So there's a whole lot of options. And yeah, the Saturn one's all about conditioning, whether it's family, society, religion, any kind of historical theme at any point in time. And when you have, when you are conditioned in a way, it becomes a source of repression from truth. So therefore, the Saturn skip step can have a lot to do with taking responsibility for one's own life and for one's own belief. But I think with both of them, there's a level of potential guilt, and sometimes people with this, you can see, speaking of them, not see. I've heard people tell me about, like, I'll ask them, I'll say, did you go into this life when you're young and kind of feel this sense of guilt, you know, even though there's nothing really there. And I've had a lot of interesting responses to that. So, you know, it's just very interesting, the idea of coming into this lifetime with that and not being able to remember it. With that said, we're moving towards Scorpio, and we're moving away from ego, because fifth house, South Node mixed with fifth house, which is Leo. It, you know, you could have been an artist too. You know, there's so like there's all these potentials. But the way I take it is that moving from Taurus to Aquarius, fifth to 11th is way more about community and about humanitarianism, which is a big theme in this whole chart. I don't want to say another time this whole reading, so I'm going to practice this, but I have to take pauses in my speech, because sometimes instead of pausing, I say okay, I'm going to try to improve at this. This is my new idea. So, I want to say so either. I'm very Virgo right now. Anyways, so moving away from this fifth house, this mix of Leo, which can be very, very fun and very much about pleasure, very much about inner child, very much about very exciting and very raw. But the whole idea is that you're here in this lifetime to make a major contribution to yourself, which then leads to making a major contribution to society. So making very big internal changes. And back to what I was saying earlier about Taurus, is that Taurus sometimes fears taking those emotional, energetic risks. Therapy is a perfect example, right? Jumping into an unsafe or not unsafe relationship, jumping into a healthy type of risk, right? So if you look at Scorpio with Pluto, it would most likely speak to the idea that there would potentially be different crises that happen in your life. And one of the most important areas of your life is the groups and the company that you choose to keep. So with an 11th house Pluto, it's very, very important to not keep company. You have, like, once you begin to see whatever this past life conditioning is, and whatever ways in which you might limit yourself through thoughts, you have to create boundaries. After that, my computer is like making this crazy sound, like it sounds like there's like a explosion. It's so distracting. Like zzz. It goes zzz. Doesn't do it all the time, but just started doing it in the last 2 weeks. I didn't have internet. Sorry to stop this, but I didn't have a functioning internet in my apartment, or like I did, but I had to use the hotspot for readings, and it was just on my computer, which I pretty much mostly only use for work. I have iPad, phone, computer I use for YouTube, or phone, TV I use for YouTube. But so imagine, like, I get back from the US in February. I don't have any internet. I have to. It's just, annoying to have to like pull up your hotspot for every reading you do, every live Zoom you do, and then the second I get internet, my computer starts making this noise. So great. Love technology. Not, not. Anyways, that's my public service announcement. Back to the reading. So there will be, so any type of crises in your life are very, very karmic. And with respect to groups, there's this big need to, I could definitely see a case in which you would have this real desire to join very powerful groups. Groups that can do also powerful in the sense of, well, it actually depends on your evolving idea of what power is, right? So if it's power from an ego level, that's not, that's not good. Power on a soul level, that's what we're looking for. So when you look at your friends, when you look at the groups, the causes you're part of, you ask yourself this one question: to what extent does this group, friend, whatever, either lead me towards more of the same. One second. I hear weird noise downstairs. I just want to make sure it's my cat. Where are my cats? Mika, is that you? What is that noise? Where's Fetty? Oh my God, it's the bag. That's what I hoped it was. Okay, so the question is to, whether a group, friends, whatever, is a cause, is perpetuating some type of low level conditioning, or if it's helping you liberate yourself. So it's really important to be, have very, very authentic friends and groups and people you associate with and groups you associate with. So that's why, Scorpio also ruling the 11th just backs that up. So it's very likely that you'll go through big transformations and changes in that. So that's sort of the journey for the Scorpio North Node with Pluto. It's almost as if, okay, it's been like it's time to crank it up. It's time to, especially earlier in life, it's time to become a little bit uncomfortable. And resistance is the key word. If you resist, that's when things get hard. If you allow the transformation to truly, truly take form, then things are good. But there's a lot of trust in the universe that's needed for that. So how does that relate to being a Libra moon, 29-degree Libra moon? Well, 29 degrees is interesting degree. It's really, it's the last, you're definitely at the end of a very important emotional, energetic sort of lifetime. You're turning the page on an energetic lifetime. So there can be lots of tests that really test you in the sense of Libra. Obviously, is about relationships. It's also about Libra has a tendency to be a little bit too people pleasing. So one of the big challenges for Libra Moon is how to not people please, how to not compromise, how to have that good balance between giving and taking. Now, air moons definitely have issues with feeling emotion sometimes, and the square with Uranus is very, very important because it makes it so one is just innately rebellious. But because it's the moon, they might not see this rebelliousness. It might be hard for them to grasp even within themselves. But having, like as I was saying, having an air moon, it can make it hard to get in touch with the emotions. Now you do have a moon Mercury, but that's the mind. So That's even more of a challenge, right? Because you're Scorpio North Node, which is water, so water is about feeling. And when you're very air dominant, there can be a tendency to intellectualize too much, intellectualize emotions, have sort of this aloofness and this preferring logic to emotions. That's common for any air moon. So it's when you have your North Node in Scorpio, which is water, and you don't have much in water or nothing in water, it just becomes more difficult. With your South Node in Earth, at least you have your ascendant there. But anyways, Esma's here. We can have this. Let's see what she has to say. Oh, oops. Come on, Esme, come help. Good girl. You really want to help me. Oh my God. One sec, Esme. Okay. Yes. Say hi. Okay. You're gonna do your thing? Do the thing you always do, okay? Magic hat, look at the part of the chart that I'm supposed to look at. And meow at it. You get one, two. Look, Esme, which part? Did I just messed up? Okay, Chiron. Good girl. Good girl, Esme. Chiron, huh? Yeah. Chiron and Virgo. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that is important. Opposite Mercury. Don't bite my hand. Okay. That was the Esme who came. She comes when she wants to. I didn't invite her there. So anyways, thank you, Esme. Good girl. So yeah, so that's we'll get to the car in a little bit, but basically Libra moon, you have to watch out for codependency, and you have to watch out for having, you have to be able to say no. Learning, making sure that you're able to say no, making sure that you understand, because as a second house sun, there's this big need to have your own values, your own sort of internal rules of engagement for your life that are reflective 1000% of you. And because it's Aquarius, that backs that 1000%, because it based on you part even more, right? So it's interesting that as a North Node Aquarius who's meant to make big, deep, authentic changes and go through death, rebirth, transformation in their lives, that they would have all this Aquarius energy. Sun, Mars, Venus. I've got Mars and Venus there, by the way, so I know what it's like. Um, Venus rules your moon, though, which is interesting. It's with your sun. So there definitely is and you have Juno with your moon. So there definitely is a very romantic predisposition. Libra moons, there's an emotional need for balanced relationships. But what we see too far often, not always, just, it happens, is we see Libra moons letting themselves down in order to satisfy the relationship, to satisfy the partner, to satisfy the friend, whatever. So, and they can get very anxious when at the idea of upsetting the balance in a certain situation. So that's obviously something that needs to be figured out. So with the Aquarius energy, And the fact that Uranus, which is the planet that rules Aquarius, is square the moon. We have a rebel. We have someone who is meant to be completely different than their south node, right? South node Taurus, like I said, it's not the, Taurus is not a sign that breaks the rules. It's traditional. Aquarius is the opposite of that. So you've done the traditional thing. You're here to do the unique thing now. And having all this energy, like the square with Uranus, it has a lot of it says a lot, right? For one, there could be this real, it definitely it can create an energy in relationships where nothing's ever good enough, and where the individual always wants change and always wants to be so rebellious, but sometimes it's to a point that's too far, right? It's like almost like being rebellious just to be rebellious. So the relationship problems can come for the individual who just wants to be different just for the sake of being different. But it definitely, and they can just, yeah, like I said, they, like, even in terms of like their like their domestic life, they can just want to change. And it's really important to not just think the grass is greener on the other side, or it can create a serial dater, or someone who's just always in relationships and, very easily finding reasons to, especially with all the Aquarius energy, right? Which we'll talk about in a little bit, but it definitely makes you need a lot of space and need a lot of freedom in relationships, as I do. Like I said, the same Mars and Venus. So yeah, this theme of Libra and Venus and Aquarius and Uranus, it can sort of, Venus is actually the sign that rules your south node too. So south node, past life beauty, past life art, things of that nature. Being too potentially materialistic, or just someone who's very sense oriented, all that. So, there's this real push towards depth and you're really here to figure out who you are, right? That's the essence of your chart on a deep level, is to challenge your pre-existing notions, and to like, imagine someone who is an amazing, compassionate, creative, fun, loving person, but they have this idea so far tucked into their unconscious that they don't deserve great things in their life. And it's so, even, you see, I just said that Esme goes, that, like, she actually speaks. That means I agree. Laugh at me if you want. I don't care. She's a synchronistic cat. So yeah. So it's true. It's just that that those people exist a lot, and it might not look, it can look different for everyone. It could just be a certain type of overly rigid thinking. It could be someone who's, a lot of times I see this, someone who's overly self-critical of themselves, and that self-criticism holds them back. Now I'm going to put Esme back to the computer. So do it round two, Esme. See if you see it. Esme. What? Okay, one section. I want to come back, Esme. She ran away. Can you give me Esme? She was working, but you scared her. You're here. Esme. Okay, Esme. I know you already looked at Chiron. See what you look at again. Go, Esme, look. You're not looking, Esme. She doesn't want you to look. It's her secret work. You can look like without her knowing. No, she's not. She only does it. She already did. She already did this chart, so she doesn't want to do it again. She wants food from you. Okay, so yeah, Esmond probably will come back. We'll see. But yeah, Sherry talked about Chiron. But yeah, so that's kind of what we're saying here is that your beliefs are ultimately what shapes reality. If you think you're a loser, if you think that for some reason this person deserves greatness and you don't, if you for some reason think that you are not worthy of whatever it might be, then you're not going to get it. And those are just little examples that can go all over life. And then there's just lots of relearning and getting to know yourself. If there's a lifetimes where one was very conditioned and they would limit themselves and their identity to that conditioning. So getting away from that that's what Aquarius is all about. That's why you're an Aquarius in this lifetime. Ta-da. So second house Aquarius too, which is so interesting because the second house is Taurus house. So it's really about like those Aquarian values, and it's about going. It's like the self, right? It's not about. It's not a journey. It's a very very authentic journey. It's not a journey of linked to anyone else. So yeah, so the Aquarian path is not always like it can be a little bit goofy. It can be a little bit eccentric. It can be way different than the norm, but it's definitely one of not giving a shit of what other people think about you. Only God can judge you, that kind of mindset. And that's not always going to agree with Libra. The people please, but the thing about the Libra is that there's that square with Uranus. So the square with Uranus, there's going to be this kind of back and forth where there can be some anxiety that comes, right? When the Libra moon wants to please, and inevitably it the Aquarius part wants to rebel, and inevitably it doesn't please. It's about learning how to accept not pleasing everyone. And that comes from the second house's energy, the point of the second house sun, which is having that firm identity, firm morals, firm values are set. When those are set, then you're able to really judge yourself based on your own. I call it declaration of self. It's like a constitution of self. A self constitution, and you use this to govern everything in your life. So I'm not saying write one out. I mean, you could, but it's definitely something that on a metaphoric level is very necessary. Now, when we add the Capricorn part to this, right, it is ruled by Saturn, and you have Saturn making a conjunction to your Mercury, and right now you're in your Saturn return. So I highly suggest you get a current astrology reading from me. It is what nearly everyone does. And I didn't check to see if you already have the follow-up, then most people buy this reading with the follow-up. It's all about the natal chart, and the current astrology is the transits and the progressions and basically the year ahead, and us talking about that and how that's looking for you and strategizing. just kind of having discussion. It usually ends up being a 3-hour reading. I give you a big discount for that. You just have to let me know. Anywho, the Capricorn adds a real sense of hardworkingness and responsibility and commitment, an ability to appear responsible in the eyes of others and follow through on commitments and so forth. But also Saturn ruling your chart means that it would probably be now, especially with Saturn on your Mercury, which can limit it can make one quite shy especially for the first 30 years. And with Mercury in Pisces, one can be a genius on the abstract level, but they may struggle with anything related to the more mundane, the more kind of concrete, abstract, or not abstract, non-abstract types of like, for example, the school system. It's very Capricornian. That might be difficult for someone, because the Mercury in Pisces makes your mind, your communication quite vague and very artistic, very, very right brain, very, very creative, very intuitive too, great intuition. But that's not always, so this is like a big theme in your chart, because your Chiron is in the sign of Virgo, which could be a wound around either not thinking the self because of that third house Saturn, which could be the early school environment or even siblings, something giving you the idea that you're not as intelligent as you are, or just making you insecure about communicating. And it relates to past lives, right? So this is all mimicking your past life, all of whatever event or events in this timeline, this life, relates to what I just said. That's completely linked to a lesson you're meant to learn from past lives. So God creates these synchronistic experiences for us in this lifetime, in the current lifetime, to mimic healing that we need to do from past lifetimes. And it's just it's exact accuracy, exact parallel between the two. But Chiron opposite Mercury also, as Esme was looking at in the ninth house, it can really push that Saturn square the nodes, where it can make one a little bit wounded, like rigid thinking. Maybe if there's potentially a parent that pushed this perfectionism, I'm not saying that's necessarily the case, but it could very well be, and led the person to kind of shut down in a sense. So right now, your Saturn return is likely a time where you are really, really starting to open up with respect to communication and opening up your mind to the magical parts of it. Not to say that it would would have been completely closed. I don't like to make predictions like that. I like to give, because everything is just possibilities. But oftentimes that's what it would say, that there would definitely be a big challenge in that respect, and likely it would be around now now, or even sometimes the Saturn return, it's like a year or so after that you start to actually understand it. But yeah, like a lot in your life is getting easier. Saturn, or getting better, not easy, not just better, but Saturn, things get better with time. So as a Cap rising with Saturn on your Mercury, a lot more, I would expect a lot more confidence in respect to your communication and your thought. So yeah, and the ninth house Chiron could speak to issues around one's beliefs and just like maybe even feeling rejected for what one believes to be their overarching truth. So that's another area that will that, you know, where the healing needs, and it can turn someone into a teacher and someone that teaches, you know, through their own journey, finding ultimately one of the main reasons we're here, especially anyone interested in astrology, anyone interested in that higher awareness, you know, they want to learn truth, right? They want to see, okay, astrology is undeniably real, you know, and people are starting to say it more and more in mainstream society now, and it's going to be more and more just obvious to most people, as I predicted 6 years ago. So, you know, anyone who really wants to know about these things, right? It's very important to know that on another, you know, that by you trying on, you know, traveling and trying on different philosophies, having different teachers, just really trying to increase your awareness and all that, you're healing yourself. And it shows you like, wow, like you know, my way of thinking is there's real beauty in my openness, my curiosity. It's another thing about the Mercury and Pisces is that there's a sort of fluidity with the mind and a sort of open-mindedness that you do have to watch out to not be like when you're around. Also, it's a really great sign of intelligence, Saturn conjunct Mercury, because Saturn is memory, Mercury is the brain. So when they're conjunct, even though it can bring some difficulties in terms of confidence and it can make someone shy, it's really good for intelligence, right? And then Pallas is there too, which represents like the third eye and the planning brain, the strategic brains, and Pisces, which is a very meditative mind that's able to kind of really have an open third eye and be very intuitive and see and almost see ahead and plan steps ahead in a very creative way, very good with the arts, all that. So, and they're all in the third house too. So that's really good for intelligence also. So there's lots of intelligence points. But Chiron opposite Mercury, yeah, there could just be wounding around how intelligent one thinks they are. And then Mercury's also square Pluto, right? Which is a tough one. Because like, yeah, the Chiron one can make one suffer from feelings of intellectual inadequacy. And you know, the Virgo energy can make people, you know, make them think that other people know more than them, right? So then, you know, the square Pluto in Mercury, it can make someone have very dark and negative thinking patterns, but also their thinking patterns, just like them on a soul, are meant to go through these massive death, rebirth transformations. That sometimes, you know, as Pluto can be kind of ugly at its lower form, it can make one a little bit cruel in their speech. There can be these obsessive, very dark thoughts sometimes, but it's a square, so it gets better in time and with work. But sometimes people with this can find it really difficult to like really think positively, and yeah, it can be very scorpionic. And sometimes they can be very obsessed and focused on their own ideas and not really like valuing the thoughts and opinions of others. And yeah, so people with that, like their opinions and their views and and also with communication style, right? It is in Pisces, which is very peaceful for Mercury, but and then, you know, the moon is in Libra, so those are two energies that lack boundaries, right? So that's already like, whenever I see Pisces and Libra both in the six personal planets, I always say, you know, boundaries are so important. But and with the square to Pluto, right? There could be something like where the person says things and then these things obviously like upset other people because of the Libra moon, and then they, you know, they get it, you know, they kind of feel like they're hurting themselves. And then also, if you add, 1 second, get water. So also, if you add the fact that Mercury Pisces, they can literally take on other people's thoughts through osmosis. So it's really important the environment you stay in, the people you stay around. like to really see if you're taking on other people's thoughts, because that's very common. Aside that, you can also be like, one other thing is like there can be like a certain level of stubbornness, at least in terms of like sometimes some people with this like moon Uranus, like they can be very erratic and very stubborn in their efforts to stand out from others. Like I said, can try too hard, stand out from the crowd. So it's all about like tapping into the intuition, and it does make someone want to have a very exciting life, right? It's just about keeping it grounded and doing things because you really truly within your core self, right? That's who you're trying to figure out. You're trying to really know like, what is me, right? Like, not doing things because they want to do them, right? Because it's like, I'm not going to name names. Someone close to me, sends me a photo of fashion, and or like some fashion magazine. So he's like, I'm following this fashion blogger. And he's like, he says that, I wear tons of football shirts, like soccer, your US, oh, your UK, yeah, football shirts. Um, I've always worn them my whole life. I don't give a fuck about the fashion. Like, I could give a shit, because I have confidence as a human. Like, I don't like really give like. So like he sends me this, and I'm just like in my head, it's like I wouldn't like. Why would I ever like follow someone else's advice of what's like cool to wear? Like, what the fuck? Like, to me, that idea is so crazy. Like, I understand like buying, if you have money, like buying brands that are dope and designs and things that you actually think look great. Like, that's cool. But like the idea of buying something and wearing a style because someone else says so, to me, it's crazy. Um, so yeah, like really, really, that's kind of like a metaphor of like, you're trying to really be like, that's a very Aquarian way to be, how I just described, and that's good. Because that's, that style is based off of you, and having that in all areas of your life is what you need. But that can be a big challenge with some people, right? So and that's very Saturnian to be that way. I just explained like the kind of like following trends and trying to get everyone to like you and all that. Low vibe Saturnian. High vibe Saturnian, high vibe Capricorn is like, I want to really work hard, because I want to make the world a better place, and I want to build something for myself in my life. I want to take things seriously. And they're the ones who build things, who create foundations in society and all that. So with your Aquarius sun, it has a beautiful aspect of conjunction with Venus. So Venus here you do have to, definitely adds a lot of attraction, a lot of like what's not charm is for men, isn't it? So lots of yeah, beauty. Like, you like nice things in life. You have like a nice aura. You're probably, beautiful physically. Um, but the thing is, it's an Aquarius, so it's like this kind of different type, right? Now, also, it's another potential for just this big need to not allow relationships to, because what can happen when you're on the Aquarius journey, but also on the Scorpio journey. Scorpio is very, very relational. So, and it's a kind of relationships where it's like two souls becoming one, like very close, right? But the energy is right on your midheaven, so it's like related to groups, but also to career. If you look at the Placid, this would be related to like your career slash your dharma, right? What you're meant to do. You're meant to take past life gifts, and in past life, another story could be that you allowed your self-limiting beliefs to hold you back from actually taking all of these creative talents to the outer world. And in this life, you're meant to do that. So anyways, I think that the being an Aquarius, like I said, it is gonna there's a need to keep your freedom within relationships. There's a need to keep your individuality. there's a need to not fall victim to the whole codependent worldview that can come in modern times, or just in general with humans, where they try to create God out of another human, right? It's about really staying true to you and finding relationships. As a Venus in Aquarius and a Mars in Aquarius, you need to ask yourself in relationships, am I still holding my core individuality within this relationship, or am I falling into a place where I no longer know myself? And of course, you're always going to change in relationships, right? Like around anyone, you're going to be a different version of you. But for Aquarius Venus, it can be very, very difficult to, I guess, in relationships, they can have a lot of challenges when they feel boxed in, when they feel like their inner genius is taken away, that their inner ability to kind of create whatever they want to in that given time, that given day. Like they want to be able to just go and do, and they need to be able to be their weird selves, their individual selves. And if they don't have that, they can, it can be also with the moon and Uranus, where they can very easily be like, okay, oh, hey, Esme. Um, they can very easily be on, I'm done, right? Like they need, and that's very important for you. It's very, very important to, at the same time, not be overly judgy on partners, but then also know that if you're starting to feel like you're losing yourself, that's not good. But that's when, being a Libra, the key is to become, it gives one diplomatic. Oh, here, Esme. Oh, here. Oh, it gives one very good, high diplomatic potentials. Aquarius too. So you have, four of your big six personal planets, which were the conscious parts of your personality, in air signs. So you're a very, very good communicator. But especially now, like, or soon, now/soon, that's like when your communication is going to really, really start to, and even like Mercury in Pisces in general, it can be very broad. So me and you have this in common, actually. I'm Mercury in Pisces, but I have like a big advantage. I'm not gonna get into it because it's a very tight conjunction with the sun, so it becomes like a super powered Mercury. But I also have a sextile with Saturn. You have yours conjunct Saturn, so it's gonna give you like this real blend of left and right brain, where it's almost like a Mercury slash Capricorn, um, uh, Pisces slash Capricorn. I mean Mercury. So it's being able to be precise and consistent and logical, while also intuitive, artistic, creative, abstract, all that. Without some of the more negative, kind of foggy and confusing, um and it can help with the whole osmosis boundary thing a lot of Mercury and Pisces suffer from. But still, it's important to really like be mindful when you're in certain environments. I'm gonna say you go camping for 3 days, or you're around family at Thanksgiving, or it's the U.S. You're around camping, you're around family over holidays, Boxing Day, and you start to think, oh wow, like why am I thinking like this, right? So it's important to spend time alone with you if you have any Pisces placements. So the Mars in Aquarius is very much about, it's unaspected, so it creates kind of this free reign. And sometimes people with Mars Aquarius, they're very, 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 they really want to be humanitarian. They really, really want to be unique, and they're never going to listen to orders. They're very rebellious, especially unaspected. It's like someone will go very creative too, and very ingenious, very outside the box thinking. That's why I think maybe like the pain with the Chiron and the Mercury, maybe that came from like a family that was more conservative, or maybe they just like didn't get you right, potentially, which made it hard for you to really, really feel like you could be accepted. And like it's very common for my clients to come from families where people just think that they're like nuts. So um yeah. Anyways, with the yeah, so with relationship stuff, there's obviously a need for that Libra moon wants that love, wants that fairness, wants that stability, that romance. that real pleasantness and romance. And then, you know, on the Venus Mars level, you know, you need that freedom. You need to feel like you're still like I was saying before, you can't feel like you're being held back from your individuation. If you do, then it's not good. And also Venus and Aquarius, they can tend to go for like there's a huge need for very good communication. They need to be very intellectually stimulated by partners, and they sometimes can be like they'll go for someone even if they're not always, but like it's kind of something that happens more than with any other Venus sign. Like like there's something I read somewhere that resonated that was like Venus and Aquarius would be the Venus sign that would date someone who's like you know, in a wheelchair, like has some kind of big disability just because they love their mind, right? That's how important the mental is, and they're not afraid to date someone from a different social class. Like no, that shit. No, Aquarius does not give a shit about any of that, you know. They just want authenticity. They want real people, you know. So yeah, and then having those Mars and Venus in the second house, very good for money. Having Jupiter in the 11th house, very good for money. Also, Jupiter in the 11th house, really close to midheaven. It just means that you know, midheaven Scorpio, you're really trying to be transformational in your career. You also might have different career changes that mimic your internal changes. And oh my God, it's always you, Esmond. I have two other cats, you know, but they don't come when I do readings. Do you want to give another try? Okay, you said you wanted to do two, maybe. Look. Hey, you looked at the Mercury. So you looked at the Mercury Chiron. Oh, she's their first aspect she's ever done. She looked at Mercury opposite Chiron. So she really thinks that's important. Just pain around the mind and the communication. Good girl. Don't touch my crystal. You okay? Just look at it. Just stand like this. So and yeah, then there's this real yeah. So Venus, Mars in second house is a go getter, but it's also someone that really, you know, goes towards their individual self, right? And Aquarius astrology rules Aquarius also, just so you know. So it's definitely something you would love, things like technology, astrology, um, anything related to the future, anything that's outside the box, anything that's electronic. Like my Venus and Mars and Aquarius loves electronic music. Um, and yeah, second house Venus just makes it's just really good for money. It's a good and it gives someone the kind of, you know, it makes someone like really like to have beautiful possessions, stuff like that. And yeah, the Venus and Aquarius, like it's like they definitely need to be weirdos in their relationship, or like just, you know, kind of odd and unconventional, where they can really express their weird self, right? And they like talking more than touching. And they like to also like have friends. Venus Aquarius sometimes can like their friends more than they like their friends can be as important to them or more than their relationship. Same with Mars and Aquarius and Sun and Aquarius. Friends are so important. You have so much Aquarius, 11th house also. Yeah, and second house Mars is that hustler spirit when it comes to not just like making money, but just like also like developing like a strong set of values. And Mars and Aquarius people are unpredictable, but they can be really good leaders, right? And when they're angry, they can become very rebellious. Yeah, they're very hard to pin down. Oh my God, Mika was gonna jump up on me, and Esme sprinted over from the other part of the room. Mika, come here. Mika, you're my firstborn. Mika, and you're the most dominant. Come here, Mika. Come on, Aries, baby. You want to give astrology a try? You've never really been able to do it. Only Esme can. Okay, come here. Let me try with you. You're the smartest cat I've ever met. You should. Esme is good at astrology. Hey, look at the thing. Okay, no, I have to teach you. Okay, Mika, listen to me. Listen to me. Look at the planet. You might not understand astrology like Esme. This galactic center and Neptune rising. Look and tell me there's something you see, Mika. Look. No, Mika, you looked above the chart. Mika, you looked above. You looked like at the Libra sign. She has. You looked at the wrong. You even look at her moon, Mika. Mika. See, I'm telling you, Esma's never missed. That's at least probably 20 readings that she's got. Every single one, she's looked at something important. She hasn't missed. Never ever just looked at like the Descendant or, you know, like the Palace or it's always something that's key to the reading. It blows my mind. And the psychic, I told me that Esme is like a spirit, well, yeah, she's like a really special. She's like just pure light, and she's not just psychic; she tells me things. And then Esme's astrology, she has Neptune right on the ascendant in Pisces, which is crazy. And then she has a galactic Saturn on the galactic center. She has all these placements that are just like, whew, and she's a Cancer, which you know you got that, you got something. But anyways, and she's small, so she can kind of fit. So yeah, I think that you're really going to be opening up your intuition, and like there's a lot in your mind that's going to be opening up in this current time. But also remind me if you want to do the next reading to add the Saturn return. I'll do it for like it'll only be like $20 more, and I'll do a reduction, probably like a $50 reduction or maybe 60 on the price of that other one. And it's not a long wait. It's like maybe 2 weeks schedule and everything on Zoom. Anyways, so okay, talk about that. Yeah, so just like once again, you're here to learn to incorporate change into your life. Not just want peace at all costs, and just like not resisting change, because that ultimately ends up weakening one's spiritual strength when they resist change. So just the more open you can remain to new possibilities, the better. Stripping away the things, like sometimes people who are overly Taurus, like they and obviously you have Aquarius, I'm just saying South Node, like they can just like hang on to always the same friends, always the same city, all that stuff. And then that's the universe. You have to let go of the old, especially if you want, you're on this quest to serve humanity. So, sometimes you need to let go of any like very, passionate personal relationships, any relationships that are holding you back, like I was saying, from connecting the whole. And yeah, Jupiter in 11th house, like 10th, 9th. Well, it's on the midheaven, so it can work in so many different ways. It can be very good for wisdom. It can be, it's for sure very good for connections when it comes to your dharma, to your career, to whatever you want to call it, to your big picture life. And then also it's very good for popularity. So it makes them very, very lucky and fortunate with meeting the right people. Now, more with your love astrology, you have Juno in Scorpio. So that's like your ideal mate. And that in the 11th house, it's someone who, has who you can really, really take that deep Scorpio journey with, who's emotionally mature, who you can tell all your secrets, and who you can who has like some level of emotional depth, right? And loyalty. And they can handle shit. They're not pussies. So, and it's through creativity, through fun, through joy, through love, through the open heart chakra, and also through like intense experiences that you have your doorway to higher awareness, the vertex. Vertex Leo, I think that, yeah, it really comes, through the more you can open up and have like even creative outlets, which I say that in so many readings, and it's just, it's something that's it's such a hack in this life, but not everyone really follows through on them because of the world we live in. But it just shows how much, but like also it's just like being able to like let go and have fun and feel like the inner child, which the Aquarius loves, right? Seventh house ruled by Cancer. Their relationships will, want they'll be some they'll there can be a level of tradition and security to them, especially on an emotional level. Security is important. And Sirius in we'll go there after. We'll go there after. So Saturn and Pisces people make someone just like have like, it makes this lifetime really, really important. Very sorry, one second. Yeah, so very, very strong karma in this lifetime, basically, is what's happening there. It makes one like a very compassionate, intuitive worker. And like I said, the communication restricted in early childhood, and there's usually that fear of self-expression. Okay. So, mm, yeah. So Neptune the first, I love that placement. It just makes that individual very dreamy, but it can also blur their boundaries, right? And they they can have this very mystical feeling to them, this very kind of surreal, like the goal with the Neptune the first is to take Neptune, which is the dream realm spirituality. It can make, very, very psychic energy, and they want to be able to imprint that on their, it's like the whole, it sounds cliche, like making your dreams a part of your everyday life, right? Or I guess a part of who you are, right? And there, but like what can happen also with Neptune, Pisces rising or Neptune first, like there can be some vagueness and self-expression, and there can be some level of projection that other people can place onto you. So, but yeah, a lot of people also with that they can create this fantasy world of their own, and sometimes there can be identity issues too. But as a Capricorn rising, that would push that all away, because Capricorn rising, it does create someone very, very secure with who they are, very sure of who they are. So Uranus first, also right there. That just, once again, it creates an eccentric personality, right? Someone who wants to, it's no surprise, right? Who wants to express themselves in a very dynamic, or kind of somewhat eccentric, um, individualistic type of way. And it can be someone with, even whether it's their hair, their fashion, how they talk, whatever, just how they present themselves, that can be shocking and defy convention. Um, very original. Okay. So so you have two squares with Jupiter, Sun, and Venus. Venus one isn't bad. It's just like watch out for being, self-centered and extravagant. Some people with, but it definitely, like, it's the one square in astrology that's good. But the only thing is, like, watch out for complacency. And with Sun square and just like, like it makes someone really enjoy the fun side of life, but sometimes when like the idea of like wandering off the greener pastures when the going gets tough. And then with the Sun square Jupiter, I had that also, so I know all about it. It's the Superman Superwoman syndrome. It's like the metaphor I give is, you walk in a casino, you think you're automatically going to win, so you bet too much and then you lose, and then but it is very good for leadership, right? But one has to learn their own limits. And then also you have Moon square, you have Moon squaring the planet Mars, and that can make one very quick quick tempered, and kind of like irritable. So it can cause relationship problems, but there's a big need to learn self-control. And the more that you go into these Scorpio evolutionary, like, which can be like the idea of like therapy or whatever it is, just the metaphor of like understanding your unconscious better, that gets better. Also having a physical outlet, some kind of way to sweat it out or do something physical, yoga, whatever it is. So Black Moon Lilith, which is like your lowest vibration, you at your lowest, is in Aries, fourth house. So it means that it can be in your own family life, your own inner life, that you can potentially be at your worst. Sometimes it could be like believing that your family is the problem when really it's you. It could be like, expecting family members to rescue you or just do like, do a lot of stuff that they really don't need to do. Once again, this isn't a planet. This is just a potential. It's a calculation based on the apogee of the moon. So yeah, and the fact that it's in Aries, it is the lowest energy of Aries is the bully, and not being so aware of the impact your behavior might have on others. So with respect to your whole chart, it could just be being a little bit brusque and overly asserting yourself too is one thing. Like low, like by the way, just think of the low vibe of that sign, and then think about how to transform it. It goes exactly with what I said with Moon square Mars, right? Black Moon in Aries can be overly assertive, and yeah. So a lot of people with that, they don't realize to the extent to which they're asserting themselves. So it just comes from increased awareness. But then you have part of fortune in Aries too in the fourth house, which part of fortune is kind of you at your flow state, you at your best, you when an area of life where you can really like feel really good and be very happy in and be very successful. And it's it kind of says in the fourth house that the more in touch you are with yourself, the more happy, the more joy you find, the spiritual relationship with self. Also experiencing new beginnings in life, which is what that North Node in Scorpio is all about. So the more that you can plunge into your own potential trauma, past life trauma, because you do have North Node, South Node opposite Pluto, so there's past life trauma too that you're trying to get past. That's plagued you in past lives. You haven't been able to get over this hump. Now you have a 29-degree North Node, so this is the critical lifetime for you. And in Aries, it's just like you have the same great joy, very great success when you are very independent, when you are yourself, right? Kind of like the Aquarius energy. It's similar, Aries and Aquarius in that sense. When you're a leader in your own life, using your own willpower to achieve your goals, all that stuff. So yeah, Palace, we talked about best stuff. The best is also in Pisces. That just feels like a deep attunement and a deep it makes someone very, very, they have a lot of energy they're putting towards, they're really striving to serve humanity, and they have a lot of energy that they're pushing towards their spiritual path. And just a commitment to make the world a better place. And then in the third house, it's that real clear, communication skills and a commitment to finding truth and helping others see clearly. So it could be good for so many, any kind of career in psychology. Well, yeah, psychology, yeah, definitely, especially the Libra moon. But that's not what I was going to say. I was going to say anything that relates to communication would be really good. And Palace in the third, like I said, like it's very good for intelligence and being able to kind of have like this mind that can merge with the universe and being able to heal through words. The last one of those is the fact that there is Sirius in Taurus. So that's kind of like a second moon. So it is basically, really feeling cared for when there's a sense of stability that you get, that you're able to nurture others through stability, through touch, through anything, related to any of the five senses. And just able to nurture and enjoy being nurtured in very practical ways. So, showing others you care through practical means and so forth, like being touched, stroked, cuddles, all that. And fifth house, which is like, like looking after yourself in very creative, artistic, and fun ways, right? Also, children, really caring for children. South in the fifth house, there can be like a very deep, obviously it sounds cliche, but very karmic relationship with your children, if you take that as a nutshell, and a very nice one, Venus ruled with Sirius there. Okay, so let's see these. Also, Capricorn rising, they can be a little bit overly cautious at times, but I think in your chart it's a good thing, because I think with your moon square Uranus, like sometimes with Uranus squares the moon, it can take, like there's just like a very special kind of like I guess that's more of the sun. But with the moon, I guess with Uranus, it's a lot of trial and error. It's not like you're necessarily going to figure it out right away. So you just have to keep trying. Okay, so let's look for. Okay, wow, you are lucky. You have Psyche on, so get ready for some good news. So already ascendant in Capricorn. Also, like I have no idea what you look like, by the way. I, I've seen them as very attractive. A lot of times when I talk to girls who have Capricorn risings, friends, like not like talk to them that way. I have a girlfriend, but like I guess their risings is Scorpio, and that's because Scorpio on the midheaven makes you appear like Scorpio on social media into the world at large, right? So this is what's awesome. You're gonna love what I'm about to tell you. So you have Psyche, asteroid Psyche on your ascendant, which literally makes you stay looking young. I know someone who has this on her. For a woman, it's Venus, Moon, and of course ascendant. And she is in her 40. She's 44. She looks like she's 22. It's crazy. But she told me it was only Venus and Moon, but I've seen countless examples where on the ascendant it definitely worked too. Okay, let's see. Oh wow, Amor conjunct Venus. That's a beautiful one too. So Amor is one of my favorite uh asteroids. It has to do with unconditional, the most pure kind of love. So when you have that on Venus, you have that ability, like to have like just the most amazing kind of love, where even like it's unconditional, you know. So a lot of people that they have partners that you know, like it gives the ability to not just in relationships, but just to have this like real love for humanity. Hold on. Also, you have Cassandra on your sun. It's really good for your like intuition, divination skills. You can receive like lots of psychic messages. This one I haven't studied that much, but we'll try it out. So these are cherries on top, right? Everything the most important I said. But yeah, this can, you know, connect you to um, you know, like a lot of your individuality not having heard as a child. I'm reading something. Or like knowing something, like being someone who just like knows the truth. Like I go through this a lot, like where I know what's going on in the world. I know all these things about these people, and like to me, it's so fucking obvious, but to everyone else in my life, like they just can't see it. And someone called it uncommon common knowledge. So you could have something like that. So it's really important to follow your instinct and your intuition and your own judgment, right? So that actually goes along quite well. I kind of like that one. That one makes sense to me. Um, so yeah, you can really communicate in a very like you can find, you could be someone who could be a writer, and really, really create beauty through writing or through anything that's related to that Mercury, and especially now when Saturn is becoming giving you the ability to really be organized in that communication. Aphrodite. So you have another beauty one on your IC. So that's like the princess energy. So you have some beauty ones. Serious, no. Too far, too far, too far. Far. Also, you could be famous, and that sounds weird. I don't like look that much at, but there could also be there could also be so like yeah, it's this asteroid called Fama. That's the one Haley's more into. Um, I don't necessarily like believe in it, like because I just don't know. But so I'm just telling you about these ones, right? Because you have it right in your midheaven. So fame is interesting for people who want to become famous. It can show us how or where your fame might manifest if it's aspecting Jupiter. Ooh, it is. North Node or Sun, it might manifest easier for you. So it's yeah, I mean that's interesting. So, but then it gives you these. Okay, conjunct Jupiter. You could have either yeah, it's right on Jupiter. Okay, here it is. So you could have either always felt lucky, but if you haven't, you should know that you have good luck on your side. So remember to use it. Whatever you desire is able to become your reality. So it's interesting. This is like the best is with Jupiter. And you have it right there, Jupiter. That's cool. And but then you have Nessus on your midheaven. Nessus is like about enemies and rivals. And it's definitely an asteroid for ancestral healing as well. So it kind of goes with the whole theme in your chart. So, it indicates some of the work you've come to clear in this life based on your kind of ancestral traumas. So, the fact that's on your midheaven is saying that like, that like what I just said can you could be working to help people clear that, or the work that you do on your big picture dharma. I don't like using the word career, but it could be career. Could be doing that very work. And there could be some public trauma, right? But then you have lots of very good luck energy in that. Because yeah, there can be some triggers that come up, like when you're expanding in your career, um, different things can come up. Yeah, and it also relates to like really violent trauma. Um, but the fact that it's on your midheaven makes me think that maybe you could be like someone that could work really well with trauma survivors. So yeah, okay. And I think that's it. That is it. Yeah, yeah. Check one thing. 16 and 10 cap. Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought too. It was Zubin Elganubi. Okay. All right. Actually, I need to check one more thing. Do. Also, Isis conjunct Mars, so you could have a connection to Isis. There's lots of goddess energy you have. Lots of goddess energy. Okie dokie. Now let's look, see if I missed anything here. Nope. Oh yeah, I didn't really talk about like, yeah, okay. I guess I can talk about that then end it. So Moon trine Saturn, that's another one you have that's really good for self-confidence. And being able to create like firm foundations in your life and really good for like achieving your ambitions. So I would imagine you're quite responsible, quite organized person. And that helps a lot with self-esteem. It's really good to have. And then I didn't really go too far into like Venus with Sun. You know, I kind of talked about how it's very loving, kind of nice aura, very gentle, someone who attracts people to them, right? So, you know, the aura is very nice and beautiful, and animals probably like you. You know, being able to really be like affectionate in the way you express yourself, just very like nurturing, you know, and also like art, beauty, and all that playing like a big role, but it can also make someone very easily hurt. So, yeah, just important to pick the right people, the right partners, the right friends, all that, which I showed through your 11th house. Okay, amazing reading. An hour 26. That's fine. That's fine. So yeah, let me know about the other reading. I highly recommend it. I'm gonna be doing a DM answering soon because I probably have. Oh, I can't. I don't want to start to think about how many I have, but yeah, if I could get this done, I've been going crazy, getting my wait list down and down and down. But thank you so much for everything, and I hope to talk to you soon. If not, well, let me just check to see actually if you had the. Yeah, you have the follow. Or wait. I wrote check Squarespace. I forgot to check it. Karmic placements, soul's path, spirituality, relationships. Wow, I touched on relationship, touched on spirituality, right? I mean, there's lots of gifts in Aquarius, right? Aquarius, it's like, you know, the soul's path, and I definitely touched on that. Definitely touched on karmic placement. So I think I did all of that without even knowing about it. Woo! 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 Woo. All right. Awesome. Well, I'm happy because I swear I didn't see that. But yeah, I mean, look, like just really be careful with the groups you know, the groups and friends that you're with. And just know that right now is a great time for you, and the Saturn return, and we can talk about this if we do the current, and you have the follow-up, so that's just an hour all about this reading, comparing your lived experience to what I talked about here. Obviously it's all you know, potential probabilities and usually pretty accurate, but you know, everyone makes what they will with their chart. You know, it's I can't predict your free will. It's not shown in the chart. So yeah, thank you so much, and I'll get this sent over, and let me know about the other one.